Good afternoon. This is take 2. My camera keeps falling. We'll see what happens. So it seems impossible, but here we are. We're now a number of hours counting down until we start the 21-22 school year on Tuesday, September 6th, with kids here. 28 years. This is my 28th year. I still have this weird, nervous, anxious, excited feeling about the start of the school year. I hope it never goes away because it's actually kind of cool. You look forward to it. I did want to put something together to get the word out before the first day about what this year's COVID rules and regulations are going to look like. For the most part, it's not a lot different than how we ended the school year, but let's talk about some of the differences. So first of all, masks are still going to be required for all students, staff, visitors, inside all school buildings and on buses, except when you're eating, drinking, singing, playing an instrument, or outside. So, as was probably the case last year, mask breaks are going to be figured into the day as needed. Whenever students can get a break to go outside for recess, to have class outside, for PE, whatever the reason, if we can get outside, masks don't need to be worn outside. One of the other differences this year is the amount of space between people. Last year, one of the big factors that altered how we had to run our school year was the fact that we had to keep 6 feet of space between students. So this year that number is down to 3 feet, so we don't have to do things like use the cafeteria as a classroom or use the library as a classroom. Or if you're a middle high school student, completely split the school in half and only have half of the kids there on any given day. This year the number is 3 feet. That allows us to use the spaces that we have as they're intended to be used. We can have lunch in the cafeteria, we can have books in the library, we can have students having class in classrooms. Wherever we can, we've created the maximum amount of space. I think we're probably more than 3 feet away in most spaces anyway, but the CDC regulation was 3 feet. So more manageable, allows us to meet our goal of having every student here every day. Along those lines, schools in the region are not offering a local option to be remote this year. If there is a medical need, BOCES has what's called the Torch Academy, which is a centralized remote option for students who have a medical situation that would prevent them from being in school during this time. So what's next? Let's talk about COVID testing. The 2 types of testing. There's screening testing and there's diagnostic testing. Screening testing is like an early warning system. Screening testing is where you, also called pool testing, you take a batch of students or a batch of teachers, and if there is a positive, then you can isolate that smaller group and try to catch that positive before before it spreads any further. It's like an early warning system. Diagnostic testing, if you remember last year, anytime your child went to the nurse with a symptom, any one of the long list of symptoms that could be COVID related, we needed to have a negative test result from a doctor before they could come back to school. And sometimes that's a hassle for you to get out of school or out of work, take a kid to the doctor, wait sometimes 2 days for the test result. So what we're doing here, and I do want you to know before I even explain any further, none of this will happen without your permission. We'll soon have the ability to do a diagnostic test right here in school. We'll get the test result in about 15 minutes. That could save you a trip to the doctor, could save your child a day or 2 of missed school. We'll be doing screening tests of staff and students who opt to do so. The pool testing on a weekly basis so we can try to keep track and catch any COVID outbreaks before they get too widespread. If you would like for your child to be tested, there's some permission forms and information that are coming your way very soon. You can fill those out, return them to school with your child, identify whether you want them to be eligible for either one of those types of tests. A word about what they look like. These are tests that they use a sample that's either a shallow nasal swab, I think we all know what that looks like, or what's called a lollipop swab, which is in between your cheek and gum. None of them happen with one of those scratch your brain with a Q-tip type of samples. So that information will be coming to you shortly. What else do we have to talk about? Breakfast and lunch. Breakfast and lunch continue to be free throughout this school year. I have a favor to ask you, though. In the mail in the last week or so, you probably should have gotten a form with an application and a return envelope for free and reduced school lunch. Yes, I know that I did just tell you that breakfast and lunch are free this year, but here's the catch. A lot of the way state aid is figured has to do with the number of free and reduced lunch applications that we get over a span of time. So if you would please, even though lunch and breakfast are free, if you would please make sure you fill out that free reduced lunch application and send it in. That'll make sure that going forth into next year and the year after, that we get the right amount of money for the school district from the state, so that be based on the free and reduced lunch applications. So I think maybe the only other major difference will be you don't have to fill out that COVID screening in the morning. I think collectively the state and the nation found that they really were not terribly helpful. Everyone already knew if they had any symptoms, they shouldn't come to school anyway. So that's one thing you won't have to do. I kind of found it to be a hassle sometimes, and I think at this point we can all do with one less hassle in our lives. So depending on what COVID numbers look like in the community and in the county, school may be taking temperatures as students arrive in the morning. We'll keep you posted as that happens, but definitely don't need to do the screening. So I think that's all the important information for right now. There'll be more information coming over the next few days once we start school. Looking forward to it. Very much looking forward to starting the school year, getting things rolling, and getting into this year. So I'll see you soon. Thanks.